Hello YouTube. This week I've got the keys to a 2018 Toyota Camry Hybrid. Let's take a look. So this is the all-new Toyota Camry, and this is the hybrid version. As you can see, it's, at least I think, it's a pretty cool looking car. Kind of took some styling cues from Lexus with that front grille. This one's got that beautiful blue they've been using in advertising. Hybrid model mentioned on the side here. This one is about $36,000. It's $35,800 and something. So let's say 36,000 Canadian dollars. This is the SE version. It's got a lot of features in it, as we'll go through, but you know, it's got radar cruise, blind spot detection, automatic high beams. So there's a lot of features there. Dual exhaust. It's got a sports tuned suspension, which is something you wouldn't expect from a Camry, but Toyota is really stepping it up and making these cars more exciting to drive. They call that a dual exhaust. It's really, it looks like a single to me with two pipes coming out. But anyways, the dual's usually on the one on each side. The interesting thing about the new Camry here, or at least the new Camry Hybrid, is that you don't lose that much trunk space to the batteries. You used to not get the folding rear seats, and you had a kind of hump in the back here. There was a big hump, and they've figured that out. So now you do have a pass-through. It's not the full size, but it's a lot bigger. Well, there wasn't one before at all in the hybrid. So you still have a very usable trunk. As you can see, the arms here aren't really that intrusive. Nice big trunk opening, and you know, you've got a lot of space in here, quite a bit of space. So if you want to flip down those seats, you just pull on these handles, and then you can push it down with stuff. We'll go over to the side. So now you come to the side here and you just pull that down, and there you go. So you've got, it's not really flat at all. It kind of drops down quite a bit here, but you do have that pass through and the 60-40 split, so you can fit a lot of stuff in there. Now, if you are using the back seat for passengers, they're going to be pretty happy back here. Tons of leg room. This seat's pretty much all the way back, and you can see there's still a lot of leg room there. You've got an nice cushy, very, very cushy armrest here, a couple cup holders, and you do have 5 seats if you need it. You sit on this hump here if you need it, and you get a nice, and it's actually, the hump is actually padded pretty nice, so it's not the horrible thing to live with here. You've got a little cubby hole here, no power or anything back here, which is a little bit odd. Usually you get like a nice USB port or 12-volt power. Nothing back here, which is kind of an omission there. They're missing there. These map pockets are massive. I don't know who really stores stuff in there. I guess people put their iPads in there or something now. Up front, you can see here, it's quite a nice looking dash. And we'll move up front to take a closer look at that. And of course, there is a sunroof, and it's just regular size sunroof. It's not a panoramic sunroof in this one. So in the front seat, driver's seat here, you've got this nice swoopy dash, kind of makes you feel like you're in a cockpit. Everything is kind of well laid out. I do find the volume knob a little bit far of a reach. The tuning is here. I didn't actually notice the tuning knob at first. I thought that was the volume knob when I was just driving along. So you got your tuning knob and your volume knob here, and automatic climate control, dual zone on that. Leave that off there just to reduce the noise. It's pretty quiet though. This screen is beautiful looking, and it works pretty quickly. It's not the fastest system I've used, but it does work, and you know, you don't feel like it's super laggy or anything like that. So it works pretty well. If you go into here, there's a bunch of apps that you have to have your phone connected for. And you've got your audio, radio, and that. And you've got info. And of course, with the hybrid system, it'll show you your battery charge and how the system's working, whether it's pulling charge from the battery or charging the battery or running the engine. It'll show you that. And you go in here and see your trip information and that too. So that's all really nice. If you throw it in reverse, you'll see this nice, really bright camera, and you can see different types of displays for that as well. And you can have parking sensors on and off and that. And you can also have the lines that move with it. This one doesn't, don't move, and then this one here moves with it. As you can see there, it shows you where your wheels are going to be. I'm in electric mode right now. I haven't bothered trying, so there's different modes down here. There's Eco, Normal, and Sport. And then there's this EV mode. And that'll put it in EV mode, but I found as soon as I do that, it pretty much immediately says that I've pressed the gas pedal too hard, and then it comes out of EV mode. So I've just been driving it like a hybrid, but down here, you'll see it says EV, and whenever it says that, the engine is not on. And that is actually happening quite often. And you can see my fuel economy here, 5.6 liters per 100 kilometers. So I'm doing pretty well, pretty happy with that with this big car. My friend's got a regular 2018 Camry with a 2.5 liter engine, and he said he's averaging about 8.2. So the hybrid seems to be quite a bit better, but he does drive a lot of city, I believe, and he's even though he's got the regular one, so that doesn't help, and it is a big car, and I drive more highway, so it's hard to compare different drivers, but 5.6 I think is pretty darn good. So let's just continue on what else we have here. We got a couple cup holders, heated seats for driver and passenger, and 3-position for those. You've got this nice squishy armrest, and quite a bit of storage space in there as well. There is a QI charger if you've got a QI enabled phone, so there is that there. And then that pushes and you've got even more space underneath it here as well. Now the QI charger is a little bit rubbery, but for my phone actually it's a Samsung S8, and because it's not super rubbery, it tends to slide when I'm driving because it's all glass on the phone. So if you've got a slippery phone, that's kind of not really that great. I've seen other cars that's kind of more rubbery, sticky pad to hold it. But if you've got a case on your phone, that's probably not a problem. USB and auxiliary input down here, and a 12-volt input. So it's a little bit lacking on the inputs, the USB ports. There's only one here, and there's none in the armrest. There's none in the back, so that's a little bit odd in that, so I'd expect a little bit more in that case. On the steering wheel itself, Toyota has got rid of their little arm for the cruise control, and I'm kind of disappointed in that. I love the cruise control arm. It's I don't need to look at the steering wheel. I just hit it, boop, up, down, set it, on, off. Love it. They got rid of it, and I'm hoping that's just for this one model, and they're not going to get rid of it completely, because I really like that cruise control arm. But knowing Toyota, I'm thinking if they get rid of something, they're going to get rid of it forever, but we'll see. So this does have radar cruise, as I mentioned at the start, and it's set here on the steering wheel. You turn this button on, it says radar cruise active, and then you just do set or resume. And you've got your distance setting here, and you just hit that, 3 settings, close, far, and farther. And then you've also got another button right here, which is your steering assist, lane departure assist. So this one here will, as you're exiting, if you're driving down the road and you're not paying attention and you end up over the line, it'll bump the car back. And I tried driving down the highway just to see how many times. It'll bump it back quite a few times before it beeps at you and tells you to put your hands on the steering wheel. But it doesn't kind of drive in the middle of the lane like the Hyundai system. If you watch my Ioniq review, I drove with the Hyundai system and the BMW system where it sits in the middle of the lane. This one here, basically you just wander all over the place and kind of hit the lines. So you can't really use it as a self-driving. You just use it as a not paying attention system. On the left-hand side, you've got your voice control buttons, your volume control for the stereo, and you've got the menu buttons here, which allow you to flip through the menus on the inside of this little screen here. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. You've got a speedometer. And before that it was tire pressure sensor, and energy monitoring and your fuel range and that. And there's even more. You can go through audio and radar, cruise, and your messages and a bunch of other settings. So there's a ton of settings in there. You go through that in that menu and you can set up whatever you want. There's a trip button on the side and the dash dimming lights here if I get my camera in there. So that's the flip through the trip. And on the left, you've got automatic high beams, traction control, trunk release, in the fuel door release. And there's also a little cubby hole here, which Toyota likes to do, and Lexus likes to do as well. A little cubby hole for some stuff like your garage door opener, some coins, or maybe throw your keys in there while you're driving or something. So there's that. Little cubby holes on the doors, but they're pretty small. You're not going to really fit much in them. This is kind of hard plastic, and this is a little bit rubbery, kind of rubber plastic, and we've got some kind of fake leather stuff here. Overall quality of the interior, it's Toyota quality. It looks really nice. This leather here looks really good, and this silvery, it's kind of, you can hear that. It's got like a texture to that. This is really, really nice. I think it looks gorgeous. Don't like the door panel here. It feels a little bit cheap. But I guess there's you've got quite a bit of technology in this car, and the price point seems to be pretty good at $36,000. So I think there's a few little things that maybe they cheaped out on. But what they didn't cheap out on is how this car drives, which is probably the most important thing. Of course, up top you've got two sun visors, like every car, and then you've got this automatic light with the mirror. So you got the sliding mirror reveal with the automatic light, and that's both on the driver and passenger side. You've got an automatic power dimming rear view mirror with the home link for your garage doors. And up here you've got buttons for the sunroof up here, and then there's an SOS button, which is Toyota's safety system. And then you've got some buttons here for your map lights and for turn on the dome light and that as well. That's pretty much it for the interior. Should mention there is paddles on this car. It is powered by a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine plus the electric drive, so it's 208 horsepower. And it's got a CVT transmission, continuous variable transmission, and because of that, I think these paddles are silly. But let's take it for a drive, and you'll see what it's like. So if you're light on the throttle, it'll stay in EV mode. There, didn't take much. A little bit of a hill here, came out of EV mode, and you'll hear that engine kind of grumble on acceleration. Lift off the throttle, and then it's super quiet as it switches into kind of idling mode and EV mode. And that'll switch back and forth, and you can kind of see it here as the engine shuts off. The engine is off now, and it's charging the battery. And because of the electric engine drive, you get quite a bit of torque right off the bat, so the car feels pretty darn peppy. If you put your foot in it, it goes really, really quick. I was actually quite surprised by how fast this car is. It's definitely no Prius. This thing has a lot of power, and you can drive it gently, get great fuel economy, or if you're in a big hurry, get your foot on it, and it goes. The engine's a little bit noisy whenever you get your foot in it, and it does kind of moo a little bit with that CVT transmission. And I think, though, it's basically because the electric drive is so quiet that you really get overwhelmed by the engine noise. Now, I'm saying it's loud. It's not any louder than any other compact car's engine. It's just that this car is actually super quiet on the road. So if I can get this engine to turn off, there we go. I believe it's off. It's still running, but I can't hear it. So if you're not really on the throttle, you won't really hear it. And I'm just going to be quiet. A little bit of tire hum, and that's about it. There's a little bit of wind noise. I've noticed here on the mirrors there's this little, there's kind of like a wing there to direct some of the wind. and that helps cut down on whistling and wind noise. I drove this in quite a bit of wind. There's a little bit of leakage around the door frame here, but besides that, really impressed on how quiet this car is. The ride is super supple, yet still sporty. So they've done an excellent job on the suspension. They call it a sport tune suspension, and it's not, it's not a race car suspension. It's super comfortable, yet it's still sporty enough that you can get on an on-ramp and kind of have a little bit of fun. And with the power, this thing has over 200 horsepower and a ton of torque because of that electric motor. It really pulls around that on-ramp, and you have a little bit of fun with this thing. Now, I mentioned in my Subaru Legacy video, if you watch that, if you haven't watched it, take a look at it. The Subaru, I thought, was a great Camry, kind of bland, all-wheel drive, drove really well, got excellent fuel economy. But now Camry, the Toyota and the Camry has really stepped up their game, and now we've got an even better Camry that even though it's not all-wheel drive, I think it's way better than that Legacy. The Legacy was nice. Don't get me wrong, the Legacy was very nice, but this Camry is even better. The other thing I mentioned in that Subaru video was that the screen they had didn't turn off completely. This one here, you hit menu. It took me a while to find it. It's kind of hidden down at the bottom here. It says display, and you hit screen off just to show you. Completely black. Might be hard to tell in the video. It was hard to tell in the Subaru video that it wasn't completely black. But it's completely black, completely off. So I love that. The one thing that I've noticed, though, is with the headlights on, it's not bright enough right now. Let me see if, yeah, this is full blast. So it's not dark enough outside, and if I did it in the dark, then you wouldn't see anything in my video. But these lights here, they're all blue. The dash is kind of blue. It looks really great, but it's and it can be dimmed, but I find it can't quite be dimmed enough for me. I'd like it to go a little bit dimmer. In both my vehicles, which are Lexus vehicles, you can go right down to actually 0 and have 0 lighting. And this one kind of gets close, but because the blue light is very bright, like the blue light really gets into your eyes, it's a little bit too bright at night if you're out in the dark countryside. Well, thanks for watching my review of the 2018 Camry Hybrid. Please subscribe to my channel. It does help me out, and like the video and comment below. This car, again, is about 36,000 Canadian. Great fuel consumption. Love the drive on this thing. It's super quiet. This one's even running winter tires, and it's still extremely quiet, easy to drive, and kind of fun to drive. And it's actually got plenty of power at over 200 horsepower in the hybrid model. And still, and you don't really lose any storage space, not very much anyways with the batteries, the way they've done this new model. And I think it looks absolutely fantastic, especially in this blue. Again, thanks for watching.